This is Consumer Friend.
Hello and welcome back to the Consumer Friend podcast. My name is Adam Carter and together with Louise Baxter, MBE, we make up Consumer Friend, which is your go-to website for all your consumer rights when you're buying goods, services and digital content. We talk to and train businesses on consumer vulnerability, plain English, and why they should be as inclusive as possible in order to get the best deal for them and, more importantly, their customers. We do all this through our website at consumerfriend.org.uk, these podcasts, and on our social media channels. But we also like to raise awareness of retrofitting. That's the art of making your home more energy efficient through new technologies and sometimes old technologies made better. And today's podcast is going to talk about exactly that. We have an industry expert that is going to talk to us today about the importance of getting the work that you are having carried out certified. But before we do that, I think it's only right to say hello to little Lou Bax, my partner in crime. Hi Lou, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Ads. How are you?
So no silly quip about your height, apart from little Lou Bax, but that's your name now, I'm afraid.
Yeah, like we've discussed, you're getting bored with that. You've got to think of something new to insult me with.
Annoying?
Annoying, yeah. Thanks, Adam. I think I prefer short, to be honest.
Okay, fine.
It feels less personal.
All right, whatever.
But actually, it's more subjective. No, annoying is subjective, I suppose. You're the only person in the world that finds me annoying because everybody else just enjoys my company all the time.
How's your January going?
I'm quite enjoying January. I'm being very productive. Getting lots of stuff done, lots of sorting out in the house, lots of plans around things to do in the house and holidays and that sort of stuff. So yeah, good. I'm enjoying it. How about you? Are you enjoying January, Adam?
I had an amazing first week in my weight loss journey.
Okay, I feel like we need some music.
All sounding a bit X Factory.
Right.
I lost 5 pounds in my first week.
But that's good.
We are now 2 weeks in. In total, I have lost 3 pounds. So I've put £2 back on.
You put £2 back on. Did you? What did you do? Did you go?
I ate everything.
Go running and then eat everything, and then go, these nuts, these peanuts, they're only 20 calories, and yam a whole 700 calorie bag. Is that what you did?
Yep.
Brilliant. Adam likes the peanut dust. Adam likes all the dirty peanut dust is what he actually likes.
I get a spoon. It's just salt, really, isn't it? It's just
and
dangerous.
Thousands of calories.
I'll get there. I will get there. I'm still running every day though in January, so I'm still kind of happy about that. I'm averaging about 9k a day. That's amazing.
Well, that is amazing.
It is amazing. I'm very proud of myself. Anyway, shall we move on to our special guest?
Do that.
With us today is Alex Hughes from MCS. Hi, Alex. How are you? Thank you for coming on today.
Hi, Adam. Happy to be here. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, all good. As detailed before, still slightly overweight.
Yeah, I did enjoy that segment. I'm not going to lie. Sat here patiently waiting.
Annoyingly overweight. I'll get there one day. So, Alex, who are you? Who are MCS? Tell us all about yourself and MCS.
Yeah, so I'm Alex Hughes. My position at MCS is Scheme Manager. MCS is actually one hell of an acronym. So it's actually Microgeneration Certification Scheme, which is quite a mouthful. That's the acronym. I've been at MCS for nearly 2 years and I'm responsible for overseeing the day-to-day delivery of the scheme, and I manage the relationship with the organisations who actually certify businesses and products for us, which are called certification bodies. For those who aren't familiar, MCS is a standard setting organisation in the small scale renewable sector, so think more solar panels on your house kind of size scale rather than a huge solar farm. So we have standards for how technologies this nature should be installed. So we've got standards for solar panels, heat pumps, battery storage. Those standards sit at the heart of the scheme, which is essentially just requirements for how they should be installed. And then wrapped around that is what we call the certification scheme. So the certification scheme is run on our behalf by other organisations that have got, I guess, the credentials to certify businesses. And essentially, the certification is just impartial assessment of these businesses to ensure that they are meeting the requirements that have been said that they demonstrate. And ultimately, the aim and objective of certification, because I guess it's quite a new thing for a lot of people, is to address the needs of people like consumers, to give them confidence that those requirements have been met. And it allows people who do get certified to ultimately declare that they fulfill those requirements.
So basically, in a nutshell, so if we're talking, and again, as we sort of discussed, ours is around sort of, we try to put this in plain English. So based on what it's one of the, I had a look at one of your press pieces as well. So over the course of MCS's life, you've certified 1.7 million installations, and around 220,000 of those were last year. So in 2023, so people are definitely getting on board into having sort of energy efficiency things put into their homes. Like let's focus on solars, because Adam will go, not your bloody solars again, Louise. So
Louise is saving more trees by having her solars installed.
I've got MCS accredited solars, and mine are MCS accredited. So basically, what accreditation? So just correct me if I'm wrong. From a consumer perspective, an average person perspective, if you have solar panels put in your house, you need to ensure that they are MCS accredited, because what that means is that the products that are being installed meet a certain standard, and the installers meet a certain standard in their installation.
Yeah. So installers are competent and qualified to do the work. They're installing that work to the industry standard. Like you say, the product itself, whether it be the panel itself or the heat pump unit, that's been tested. And MCS offers that additional layer of consumer protection. So if something does go wrong, there is that protection there.
So they can come to you. So if one of my solars wasn't working properly and I went back to my installer, which wouldn't happen, but my installer would put it right, firstly. If they wouldn't, then I could come to you.
Yeah, so the complaints process essentially is, because these are certified businesses with us and with these other companies, certification bodies, we can hold them to account. So if there is a complaint and that complaint is because they didn't follow the standard and that might cause the heat pump to not work properly, they need to go to their installer first for the installer to have the opportunity to fix that. But if the installer doesn't, or they go AWOL and they can't get in touch with them, there is a complaints process that can go through us and the certification bodies. Or there's another type of organisation called Consumer Code as well, which is like a consumer protection body. They focus more on, if you've been missold, more of the pre-sale contractual stuff. The certification body will look at more of the technical stuff, because with complaints, a consumer will be like, yeah, my heat pump's not working, but they're not going to know why. So often, if the installer's not playing ball, the certification body might have to go out and do a technical assessment of that installation to understand what that root cause is, and then they can find an avenue for remediation.
So if I was a general, normal, average consumer, I hate the phrase average consumer. If I was a general consumer, I wanted solar panels on my roof, there is an MCS approved trader who's going to do this for me with MCS approved products. Or there is a trader who's not MCS registered using non-MCS approved products, but that person is a lot cheaper. What's the incentive to use MCS?
Consumers can, again, going back to the consumer protection side, consumers can be reassured that they will be protected if something goes wrong. I mean, we do often get asked, is it more expensive to go with an MCS certified contractor? I mean, the bills that the consumer will get, like the quote, there's not like a itemized section saying, MCS certification. Of course, it costs the contractor money. It's an investment in becoming certified, but from my awareness, I don't think it's like any particularly more expensive, but each contractor will have their own price essentially. But using a certified contractor will just ensure that the contractor's undergone a vetting and application process. So when these contractors do apply, their businesses are checked, and it's ensuring that the equipment meets good standards of performance. I mean, a big thing with deploying these technologies and consumers wanting them is that it is going to help them save money on the bills. And if you're using a product that's certified, like I've been in the labs where they test these solar panel modules, it's all about, performance. They literally do like breakage tests and everything, accounting for every scenario that could happen. And I guess if you know that the performance of that product is going to be more adequate, it's ultimately going to save you more money. So there's more incentive there.
I dealt with a consumer, a really lovely consumer, a little while ago, who came to me who was having some problems with her solars because she'd had solar panels installed and they were not MCS accredited. Mm-hmm. They weren't certified. The panels weren't any worthy installers. It turned out that she'd actually been misled to buying daylight solars, which obviously don't exist. They were supposed to work from dusk till dawn. They weren't sunlight, and she was missold them. She wanted to change her tariff, but because they weren't MCS certified and the installers weren't MCS certified, she wasn't able to go onto the right tariff to sell back to her energy provider. So can you tell us a little bit more about that from a consumer perspective?
I was going to add to what I was saying earlier. So as well as like the quality consumer protection side, the other side of value of MCS is with the government incentive. So incentive you refer to, Louise, as a smart export guarantee. So that's essentially where if you've got solar panels, you're generating your electricity, whatever you don't use, you can sell that back to the grid. So the requirement to have an MCS certified installation is written into that legislation. Same for some of the government incentives in the heat pump world. So there's the boiler upgrade scheme now, which offers grants for the deployment of heat pumps. So that's the value for heat pumps has actually increased recently. So it used to be 5,000, it's now 7,500. If you're a consumer and you want to take advantage of that funding, you need to use an MCS certified contractor. So in the case of that consumer, that energy provider, whoever it may have been, they need to see that validation of MCS certificate.
What does a regulated tariff mean?
So regulated is that it's more written into the legislation linked to that smart export guarantee. But I know like Octopus, they have like their own tariffs where they may choose to give, money back and remunerate the consumer. But I think regulated is a bit more formal.
Adam, just so you know, because I know you're interested, it's 201 trees I've actually saved.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. You've saved 201. That doesn't make how? It doesn't. It's not a real calculation.
Adam, don't knock it.
I can't knock it.
I'm saving the planet one tree at a time.
I got very excited on the MCS website that you accredit small wind turbines. I was just amazed by these. So in my head, I was like, Harry, my boy's got these little, those little fans in the garden that spin around every time the wind goes. I was thinking, can I hook that up to the grid and get some electricity out? I thought, that's amazing, little small wind turbines. And I read about them, and I thought that's so awesome.
You just can't imagine having like a wind turbine on your house. To be fair, poor little micro wind. We don't get much installations of those these days because, again, just imagine walking past and someone's got a big turbine on the roof.
But I see also that there's over 70,000 products that have been accredited by MCS on the website. That is a huge amount. It really, across so many different suppliers.
Yeah. 4,000, I think you're certified 4,000 contractors as well.
Yeah, 4,400 now. There was significant growth last year. So actually 1,800 new businesses joined the scheme last year, again reflecting the demand in the sector. And that was actually the highest number, per year since 2011, which is when the PV market was kind of at its height.
What does PV mean?
Solar PV. Solar PV.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was a government incentive called the feed-in tariff back then, which was similar to the smart export guarantee, but it was where consumers could get money back for the generation. And at the time when that launched, you could actually get a fair bit, and you can get those payments for 25 years. So PV market boomed then. And again, I think it's showing now that even with that now being gone, the solar PV market especially is standing on its own 2 feet a bit more. It's not relying on government incentives, and I think it is because there's more awareness about the benefits of retrofit now. There's a big discussion around energy security. People want to save more money on their energy bills, and that is what installing a technology like that can bring.
We had Russell from Retrofit Works on last year, and as much as he talked about having a plan for retrofitting your home, he did also say that one of the simplest things that you can do is just put solar panels on your roof. It doesn't have to be part of that particular plan, because it's going to save you money in the long run, no matter what.
Yeah.
I think as well, whilst I know we take the mickey, but one of my reasons for doing it, also, yes, it saves money. It also, they will pay for themselves eventually as well. So there's a savings there. It makes your house more saleable. When I had my house valued, was valued up because of them. But also, we have got to save the planet for the children, like not to be like all altruistic, like let's save the planet, Michael Jackson, heal the world, heal the world, like sort of we're not doing that, but we have got to do, and actually it's everybody, and that is one of the drivers behind it, that people actually want to do something, because sometimes it feels like a bit too much of a steep mountain to climb. So if we all just do that little bit, and encourage other people to do that little bit. And I know solars can be quite a hefty investment, but there are things, interest-free credit that you can get to be able to pay for them and pay them back over a certain amount of time. I can only say, obviously, saving 201 trees is amazing, but my electricity bill has decreased significantly.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people in the MCS team have got solar panels now, and they're saving, hundreds a month. It's a no-brainer, really, and I think people quite like that energy independence and being a bit more self-sufficient, and battery storage, that technology is growing a lot. So you generate your electricity, whatever you don't use, you can store that and save that for later.
Yeah, I've got battery storage. Obviously, it's really useful for the zombie apocalypse. When that happens. You won't be laughing when it happens, Adam Carter. When you're stuck.
Oh no, I'll be at yours.
We'll be at my house benefiting from my solar panels. Amazing.
What does MCS do a lot of work in terms of raising awareness to consumers? If so, what does it do, and how can Consumer Friend get involved in kind of helping raise awareness on this?
Yeah, so I think in terms of awareness, there definitely needs to be more of a national push to actually market the benefits of these technologies, as we've just discussed. I think it's keen for consumers to know how much it's going to cost, timescales associated with installing these technologies, disruption, what safety and certification considerations they need to make. We do a lot with our installer community in terms of putting out dedicated case studies, because I think that's a great way to raise awareness, when you case studies from people who have lived experiences with these technologies. And I think we try and put that out in press and stuff. But I think on a national level, if we could get some of those pieces out to more national media to reach a wider audience, I think that would be great. And yeah, we collaborate across the industry with trade associations, consumers, government departments, because there needs to be a clear single message about what the right options are for consumers. And when there's too many mixed messages, and there's loads of myth busting that needs to go on, I think, because with heat pumps, you see things and it's like heat pumps don't work in cold weather. And it's like, well, I think Poland installed 200,000 heat pumps last year, and Poland's a lot colder than the UK. So I think it's just, getting the right information out there, a lot of myth busting. And we work very closely with government, helping them learn from how well their regulations are working. So the boiler upgrade scheme, we work closely with the government department and Ofgem, sharing kind of feedback of how we hear that scheme is going from our installers and also from consumers.
There's been a bit of noise from the Competition and Markets Authority and some videos that have come out in relation to greenwashing as well, because in our other job and also in this job, we see a lot of people being scammed for things that aren't fit for purpose. So again, there does need to be some heavier, I won't go into this into loads of detail because it's not, people will get so bored, but it's not very regulated, the market. But that one voice thing is common across, because we did have the Green Energy Task Force, didn't we, which was in play from the government for like 6 months. They disbanded that after 6 months when the new announcements in relation to the government announcements around the targets, the net zero targets were bumped forward. So the Green Energy Task Force was disbanded. There was talk then of a sort of one voice, one message, simple campaign to come out from government around how do you start this journey, because everybody is potentially vulnerable because nobody's done it before. So there's marketplace vulnerability, which is something that we're really keen from Consumer Friend to really help either do it from a campaign perspective, but push it forward so consumers can. And on our website, we try and provide easy information. Start the journey, even if it's something small like having your loft insulation done, or think about your cavity wall insulation, or seal your windows properly, or whatever that is. Doesn't have to be massive, does it? It doesn't have to be a really big thing.
No. And I think even down to like your energy performance certificate for your house. Like, funnily enough, my parents are selling their house now. And then and I think I'd said to them months back, do you know what EPC rating your house is? And they were like, no. But now that they're selling the property, you have to get the EPC done. And now they've got that done. They're like, oh, like that opens up their eyes, just understanding what the energy performance of that property is like, because then that EPC has recommendations and you can think, oh, I could maybe start with getting loft insulation, or I could maybe then get solar panels. So yeah, I think it's taking small steps, just educating. But this is the issue when there is just so much information out there that's not condensed. Consumers don't know where to look and it is overwhelming. And I think from the heat pump side, a lot of the time people will only replace the heating system if the boiler breaks. So it's a distress purchase and they're panicked and they're like, oh, you know, I need my heating on. Imagine if it was winter. They haven't got time to think and research into whether a heat pump's a good option. So I think we need to start more conversations now about changing heating and that energy mindset before they are in kind of that stressful situation and they're panicked and they don't know which technology to turn to.
It's a really good point, because no one wants to go and find £4,000 to replace something that's already working.
Yeah. There are grants as well. So if you're talking about consumers as accessing information, the first place to start would be sort of their local authority for grants as well. So things like your loft insulation or the wall insulation, those sort of things, you can get grants to cover the full cost of that from your local authority as well. So it's worth just checking on your local authority website just to see what grants they've got available.
I know there's a lot of local initiatives that people aren't aware of, and there's actually like group buy-in schemes now. So there's a group buy-in scheme called Solar Together, and they focus on particular regions, and group buy-in is where loads of homeowners would say, yeah, I want solar panels. They get one contractor to do the job in that area, and because if there's more interest from consumers that want to get these installations, it does drive the prices down. There's a lot of new products coming into the market around like green finance. So I just wanted to say that because I know cost is a very big issue in terms of a barrier.
Right. Thank you very much. So we've had a look at kind of green energy from the consumer perspective in terms of MCS and the certification, and the fact that it is maybe easier than we think it is to kind of access these products and these services. But I kind of want to move it on to businesses and why businesses should get involved and become MCS registered. So if I was a business supplying or installing these green energy products, what steps are there in order to become certified by MCS?
So I'd say the starting point is for contractors to get trained. There's hundreds of qualifications out there. On our website, we have what we call like a qualifications register, which is qualifications that we recognise. So these are essentially how installers can get trained and demonstrate the competence. So definitely start with kind of the competency element. Familiarise yourself with the standards, understand what it means to be MCS, what's expected of you. We do actually always say with MCS, everything we ask for in terms of the standards and the scheme documents, it's nothing above and beyond what someone running a good business in this sector would do anyway. We're essentially just asking them to evidence it. So the kind of two elements of becoming certified is that you need to be a member of a consumer code, which is a consumer protection body that we partner with. There's two in the sector.
So an example of that?
Yeah, REC or HIGHS, you may be familiar with both, but they're separate organisations and they have like a code of practice that contractors have to comply with. So it's essentially consumer protection kind of legislation elements. The second element is because we just set the standards as a company, we don't do the certifying. Contractors then need to gain membership with a certification body. So we've got 8 certification bodies that currently offer the scheme. These are organisations that are kind of already in the construction or electrical sector. So NIC, EIC is one. They have like a register for electricians. So often it's all quite interlinked because electricians will be certified with NIC, EIC, and then they might want to add MCS to their scope of their offering because they want to install solar panels. So there's kind of the application elements there. And then there's kind of a vetting process. So they'll be vetted by the consumer code, and then they'll need to apply to the certification body for their assessment. So they'll be assessed in their office just to look at all their quality management systems and processes. And then the certification body will then go out and assess an installation that they've done. So they'll ensure that they've met all the requirements in the technical installation standards. When that assessment's complete, if there's anything that you haven't done right that's not compliant with the standard, you'll get the opportunity to fix it. Once all that's resolved, you're then awarded your certificate for your business. You're added to our database, and then that's when you appear in our Find a Contractor search tool on the website. And then there's an annual renewal process then with an assessment each year.
Really thorough.
Yeah,
really
it's
thorough.
a lot of
so,
hoops
you can,
to jump
you can
through.
Put
Yeah,
you can put some serious trust into those businesses that are registered with MCS.
Yeah,
you really
just
can.
again gives the consumers confidence that there has been that rigorous process. So it's a quality scheme. Essentially, you don't just let anyone through. Yeah.
And I'm assuming that being registered with MCS can really improve reputation. It can improve business. It can improve, the bottom line. Your profit margin is going to go up. You're going to get more and more business.
Yeah, it's a useful method for standing out from the marketplace of renewable technology installers. A lot more installers are coming into the market now, so it is going to get more competitive. That Find a Contractor tool on the website that I refer to, that web page attracts over 1,000 unique page views a day, so that page does get a lot of traction. And yeah, like you say, ultimately becoming certified, you're future-proofing your business, you're improving your revenue, and you're supporting national environmental goals.
Alex, can you tell us what you think what are your most recent challenges within the industry? Because we know that there's a lot, it's moving at quite a pace.
We're always engaging with the contractor community, so any issues that we do come across, they let us know quite quickly. But last year, we carried out a 6-week consultation with the industry, so industry experts, contractors, consumers. This followed us doing some extensive research to understand consumer and contractor attitudes towards the industry and the barriers that they face when navigating it. So some of the common issues for businesses is securing that first installation to get certified with. So it's a bit of a chicken and the egg situation, because when a contractor's going through that process, they need to have a job for the certification body to assess. But if you're going to go over to a consumer and say, oh, well, I'm trying to get MCS, but I'm not quite MCS yet, they're just going to be confused. So it's quite tricky. And we actually hear some contractors will install like solar PV on their own house just to get across that. So that's one. Finding the right training courses to help demonstrate competency. Again, like I say, we have that register of training courses, and we are doing a lot more work in terms of the skills side to help combat that. Included within that is we help develop a low carbon heating apprenticeship, because one of the issues is for those that are in college now and things and coming out of school, this is a great career to get into. So we really wanted to work with the sector to create a great apprenticeship that could help someone at the start of that career. But we want to do a lot more with kind of the training side. In terms of the certification process, inconsistency of compliance assessments, there's a lot of certification bodies out there, and there should be some consistency in that. But I know some contractors will get frustrated if they feel like there's more of a focus on the paperwork side rather than the work that they've done. And as you can imagine, it could be quite tricky for like a one-man band. Quality management systems, it doesn't have to be some fancy software, as long as you're tracking your processes to ensure like quality outcomes and consistency with the jobs that you do. That is the main thing. So definitely inconsistency with assessments, and just finding the paperwork and the standards a bit too complex at times and a bit bureaucratic. So in response to those issues, we are redesigning the scheme. The scheme is actually 15 years old, so I mean, as the industry changes, you can imagine it will need a revamp. So the associated documents required to streamline what businesses need to do to become certified, we're going to improve those, and we plan for the new scheme to launch next year, to not only focus refocus the scheme on consumers, but also make it easier for contractors to access and comply. And then on the consumer side, we want to do a lot more in terms of reviewing the complaint management process, because there is that redress route, but sometimes consumers can fall through the cracks, unfortunately, and we just want to make sure that doesn't happen. We want to do a lot more in terms of measuring consumer satisfaction as well, and we've made a commitment to reach out to all consumers that receive an MCS certified installation to help us resolve any snagging issues, really, if the contractor isn't complying, and it'll help us measure satisfaction a lot more and compliance. So a lot of changes to come.
But one of the things that you obviously you pointed out was the complaint system as well. One of the things that sort of makes consumers more vulnerable is that inability to actually access redress schemes. And actually, it's really complicated. If you think about alternative dispute resolution as an umbrella, the different ways, ombudsman services, codes. It's not old school where you go into the shop and go, right, I've got a problem, sort it out. There's so many different ways now, which is right, because actually, if you exhaust one route, you've got somewhere else to go, but it's complicated for consumers to understand. So anyway, the friction can be eased in that space can only be a positive thing from a consumer perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Because ultimately, when complaints go wrong and when there's traders that missell, it only does the industry a disservice, and it gets a bad rep, and then it just spirals then, and no one's ever going to install these technologies, which is not what we want.
Yeah, because there's some consumer fear because people don't know what they don't know. So then it's easier to not engage than it is to engage and end up having a really negative experience. So that's what's engaging in it wrong. Exactly.
And with complaints, you don't want to be passed a pillar to post, and you want to just speak to one person, don't you? And you want key updates, you want transparency. And when these consumers are passed a pillar to post, it's really difficult, especially if they were vulnerable, and that can be really tricky. And I think it's good to have an inclusive place where, like you say, Louise, so many ways that you can complain, but still centralised.
I think anybody that has to complain is potentially situationally vulnerable at that moment in time anyway, because you're having to complain. And nobody really likes to complain. It's not something, well, some people I'm sure, not people we hang out with, ads, but generally some people I'm sure love complaining.
I don't know, I could think of one or two. Alex, that is great. Thank you so much for coming today. I just wondered if you have any kind of final thoughts or takeaways for our listeners.
I would just say that as a company, we're very embedded in the sector. We love to collaborate, from contractors who are on the scheme, hearing about the issues and pain points, to consumers when we do consumer case studies, understanding the benefits of these technologies. And we have great connections with our working group. So we've got 200 members that sit on these technical working groups. So we're very engaged and embedded into what's going on in the sector. For those contractors that are maybe listening that are on the scheme now, we've done a lot of research. We do recognise that there are issues, and for us to reach these government targets and net zero, the scheme is going to have to become more accessible. So we do recognise that, and consumer protection needs to be at the heart of that. So we will be enhancing the scheme to make it more accessible and to ensure that consumers do get confidence in these technologies.
Great, thank you very much. Louise, would you like to add anything?
No, that's really interesting. I've learned quite a lot today. I like it when I learn things.
Okay, Alex, thank you very much. So it literally pays to have an MCS accredited supplier and products. So that's great. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us today. Again, as ever, we are available at consumerfriend.org.uk. The podcasts are available on Apple, Spotify, Deezer, Amazon, all sorts of different platforms. Thank you very much for coming today, Alex.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, Louise.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
This is Consumer Friend.